Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
I'm Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads. Alan, another exciting week.
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. You
sure.
look excited.
Why not? It could
Maybe
be
it's
exciting.
the Padres hat.
It's a Padres hat. I got it. Yeah, I'm a totally different hat
It's a sweet
today.
hat.
Yeah, isn't it?
I like it.
Yes. I got this at Target, funny enough. Walked
Really?
into there and I was like, that looks like a cool hat.
I would imagine around the rest of the country, they do not sell San Diego Padres
No, they
hats.
don't. 90%
So maybe
sure.
it's localized.
It's a localized. I'm pretty
So
sure
guys,
it's
if you're wanting to get one, let us know. Maybe we can buy one for you.
We'll ship one over to you.
Good week. Excited about today's podcast because it was inspired by you.
Yeah.
So many of the times, just some insight is like, I do some research or I think about like what's going on in my life. What do I want to learn about? But this was something you actually came to me with.
Yeah.
Whether it's spawned on conversation or whatever. Mm-hmm. So episode 130 is wanting time alone considered being selfish?
Right.
So it's interesting because I think you had said, gosh, as a single, I mean, you have a girlfriend, but as a, not being married, not having children, the whole time management thing, which we talked about last episode, kind of comes into play. It's like, how do you find time for yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and one of the things that inspired that too is because I'm very much a guy who does a lot of solitary activities. So when people are demanding time, whether it be friends or going out or whoever, significant others or whatever it is, it draws the attention away. And so like, I don't find time to do things that I'm doing. And plus I've been doing a lot of kind of personal things that are like work related,
right?
Besides my regular job projects, I'm doing, podcasts, for example, right. But also, personal endeavors that I'm kind of networking with people and going out a lot more to talk to the people. I don't have kids to report to. Right. And I find it difficult to get that alone, quote unquote, alone time. And so I was like thinking, well, how does Jason get any alone time? And like, you got 2 kids and a wife, and I don't have any of that. But the thing is, like, again, and maybe I'm asking because I'm trying to prep for it, or
no, sure.
At some point.
Well, I think the first thing to state is that everybody is different. Mm-hmm. Everybody requires different things in their life, and so even this idea that everyone talks about like how to have work-life balance, right. And the reality is that is different for everybody.
Exactly.
It's totally different for everybody, and everybody requires different amounts. So, my thing would be, I think there's different. Here's the thing. I think there's different types of. We talk about dads. There are dads that probably have the feeling like you, where there's just no time in the world.
Right, right.
Maybe we can kind of break this up.
Or there's not enough time, like individual time.
Yeah, I just don't have enough time for myself. Yeah, like that kind of thing. The other would be, I got tons of time, man. I do whatever I want, whenever I want, right, and whatever. And then there's others, and this is probably more how I am, where I guess I feel like I get it, or I'm not craving that time. Mm-hmm. So there's not, we were talking earlier, and like, I go to the gym before everybody else wakes up. Yeah. And that's kind of my alone time, and I get that every day.
You do that every day. Exactly. Right. So you reserve, and I guess that's where I
just make it a priority.
That is the crux of what I'm getting at, is that basically you carve out a certain amount of time each day to make that a priority. And for you, it's early in the morning. You go early in the morning,
and it's not easy.
And it's not easy. Yeah. But you do it. Right. And because it's important to you, because regardless of what you think of, like, I don't need all that time.
Yeah, and I don't think of it so much about it alone, although I guess now that I'm looking at it, I do, because I was working out at the house. Right. And I was like, and I was rehabbing like, a shoulder and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, the gym has more stuff. And then I started going, because I had always gone to the gym, and then I started working out at my house again. Yeah. And then going back, I'm like, oh, this is kind of a good escape too. Right. So even on the weekend, if there's not a family activity or something going on, I'll still go in the morning. Yeah. It just won't be as early. Right. But that certainly still takes away an hour or 2 hours away from, quote, family time. But if we're going to have the family time during the day. Well,
and your family's not involved with that, and nor do they need to be, because they're likely sleeping at that moment in time, so that you have the extra time in the morning to just do that.
Yeah, and I think so. For me, I don't maybe I don't require it, or I get it. The other thing too, I think, is, having a spouse who's totally okay with that.
Sure.
Like as an example, me doing the podcast or me, working on other things, my wife is completely supportive and okay with that.
Sure.
And as the vice versa, she loves her own time.
Sure.
So for her, because I think she loves her own time, she's totally supportive of my own time.
Correct.
So I don't have that issue.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing, is that I wonder if there's dads out there that find that, or would be like me. Like I not to say maybe I change. To be honest with you, I don't know, because
it's whether it's a priority.
I didn't grow up with a big family around me, so therefore me being alone is I'm used to that.
It's okay.
It's okay. I never feel like lonely.
Yeah.
Ever. I could be alone for a number of days. It would not bother me at all. Right. And so I guess, but some people do. They like being around people a lot, and they like their social activities. Don't get me wrong. I am a social butterfly as well. But when I get away from that, it's totally fine with me. And so I just am curious, like you said, you don't need it as much, but there are times you do need it.
Sure.
And so you take the time in the beginning of the day to dole that out slowly to you, rather than try to get it all at once.
Yeah. Well, because it's not something that I don't find myself going, I really need to just get away.
Yeah.
I don't feel that a lot.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, though, if, my kids are going to go stay at the grandparents, or my wife's taking the kids somewhere, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is nice.
It's more of a treat.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is nice. I've got some time. I can kind of just do whatever I want.
Right.
And that can be as little as like 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like somebody's out. You're like, oh, I can make a decision to watch TV if I want. Or I can work on this.
Yeah, you can watch an R-rated movie or something.
Yeah, well, But no, I remember, even this past weekend, if my wife was out with some friends having a dinner party.
Yeah.
And my kids it was early, and then my kids are out playing.
Yeah.
And they're happy. Like they're at the neighbor's house. They're playing. I mean, they're totally taking. I'm like, oh, I can get some dad university stuff done. You know what I mean? Sure. I get to choose what it is that I want to do.
Yeah.
And that in itself is feels good. Like I guess or I should say it's fulfilling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I personally am lucky that I guess I don't have that struggle. Now, at the same time, I do find myself occasionally where I've done too many things in a row.
Yes.
Where I do start to feel a little guilty for not spending the time with family or something. So a perfect example would be if I was recording 2 nights in a row, or I had, my video, or I'm doing audio or whatever, and I didn't have dinner with my family for 2 nights, I would feel weird.
The audience should realize that we do this after our jobs. So basically, Jason has to take time away from his family to do this episode, with, and which is usually only a couple hours. But that being said, he's missing out on dinner. So there is a 1 day a week where basically you're hanging out with me and and getting some buddy time.
And that's okay.
But they get it.
Well,
and they've been on the show even too.
No, my kids love it. They come home like, what'd you talk about? What was today? We have the meetup or whatever.
Sure.
I mean, they're supportive of that too. So I think, it's different. I guess in that sense, I'm lucky that way.
Well, and that was what prompted the conversation, because I was wondering how you deal with that, and that's exactly what happens. Is that A, you don't need as much, but B, also you have a healthy control over how you dole that time out, because not a lot of people get the liberties or freedoms or the motivation to even carve that out. And I think that's the issue, is they're not carving out that time for themselves.
Right.
Because you don't feel it because you carve it out.
Well, but also I don't watch TV. So here's a perfect example. An hour or two a day where somebody else might want to watch TV and that's their time. I don't do that. Mm-hmm. So I choose to spend my time in different ways. And if there's something that I really want to do, I'll do it. I think the other part too that's really important though is that the balance with a spouse. So, if you have a spouse that is really demanding, I don't even know want to use that word, but they always want to spend the time together.
Sure.
And I would say that I'm probably more inclined for that, where my wife's pretty independent.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of family things together, and we spend time, together. And so it's just an interesting dynamic that she's totally okay with that.
Right.
But I think there's certainly, because I've seen it with husbands that come to the meetup or whatever, where their wives are complaining that they're not around enough, and so that's a whole other situation, because then they have to look at it like, is the spouse complaining or justifiably complaining, or are they taking too much time? What's the balance there?
Yeah.
So I think if you are taking a lot of time and that's causing a riff or that's causing an issue, I think you need to at least take a look at that.
Yeah, and that's what we discussed. The different types of dads that could potentially be out there. One of
like
which,
a dad that's like golfs all the time.
Yeah,
he's gone for 4
We're
hours.
We're not advocating, be selfish. It's more about like you said.
But that's okay if nobody has a problem with it.
Correct.
If the kids don't have the kids may not know or have a problem with it yet.
Yeah.
But if you are, you can even say that for somebody who travels all the time for work. I mean, that's a tough thing too. Like that's the job demands that.
Yeah.
So when they come home, are they, they are 100% in, are they on it? It's not so much about the quality or the quantity. It's really the quality.
The quality for sure.
So that's a big issue. So, I think, like I said, everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
But for those situations, maybe, the dads need to kind of put themselves not in check, but evaluate that and say, hey, if my wife is wanting more of my time, or am I spending enough time with the children?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Am I okay with the amount of time I'm spending?
For sure.
Because that's the other thing. Like, if somebody works all the time, they love working, they don't spend as much time with their children or their wife, but they're okay with it.
Right.
Is that bad?
Right.
They're not having any internal issues with it.
Yeah.
But yet, and if their spouse doesn't, then it's fine. Maybe their kids will lose out. It depends. But if the time that they are spending with them is really good quality, that could be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a subjective thing. It really is. I don't think it's a real right answer to any of this. I think it's just prompted discussion. I would be curious to hear from other people. I know we talked to the other Alan about this, one of your friend, your other friend, Alan.
Well, being divorced.
Well, divorced, and he even mentioned that even being there for his kids at certain times, that was sometimes that he said, hey, maybe I could have done more because I was traveling a lot or I was doing a lot outside of work, and rather than to be more involved. So there's that. But now he's doing it, and now he's
and you don't want to have those regrets later in life. I recently recorded a video on regret.
Yeah.
And it was based on our podcast. And really, that's one of the things. It's you don't want to say, on your deathbed, hey, I should have spent more time at the office. Like nobody ever says that,
right.
I mean, they're going to say, hey, I should have spent more time with the people that I love, or I should have, made more time.
Sure.
So that's what you got to kind of look at too. It's like in the end, I think we look oftentimes of the present moment and like our selfishness is like, well, you know what? Golfing makes me happy. Like that's why I do it 3 times a week, because it's what makes me happy. Well, you're right. It might, but maybe there's some kind of balance that if your kids are wanting to spend more time with you and your spouse doesn't feel like she knows you.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to put some effort there.
Yeah.
But like I said, everybody's individual. And,
sure.
But if there's no complaints and nobody's worried about it and the kids are all well and adjusted and you're loving and hey, it's good.
It wins. Yeah. You win at that point. Yeah.
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 So what do you think was the major concern for you? It's like, you're looking at it as like, wow, I'm having this sort of time crunch now. With I'm torn it's fitting
between
everything in you want to do.
Exactly. There's so many things I want to do, and I'm realizing sometimes that I don't take enough time to do.
This darn work's taking up all this time.
In reality, yeah. The thing that I used to do a lot more music, and I mean, I made the soundtrack for this podcast and stuff, but like it became more about when I have time to do it, and so I get distracted too easily by work related stuff, and I'll say a majority of it is work related. But even my social life sometimes revolves around things I want to do for work. So I'll be networking with people, talking to people that I previously worked with about certain things that they're doing, getting involved in different things. So I might be even going out and doing a lot.
But there's obviously something where you're feeling like you're the fear of missing out or something.
Not so much the fear of missing out. Is that I feel
you're not getting done what you want to get done.
Maybe, or maybe I'm not taking enough alone time to work on my internal self again, because I used to do that a lot more frequently, and I'm such a well-adjusted guy now. Yeah. But it became one of those things before where I would work a lot more internally.
So whether it's like exercise or meditation or something like that, like
exercise, just certain things that I do kind of independent from anyone else.
Right.
I mentioned taking a Marjorie, and I just don't do it because I'm so busy with other things that I'm just too tired to do other things. And when I'm not socializing, working, whatever, then even my private life, I'm just kind of bombarded with just personal things. So I feel like, and again, no offense to anybody that's out there in my world. It's just that I know sometimes.
Well, that's your priorities. Right now, you're making the priorities.
Correct.
Your relationship, your work, your priority is less, let's call it your music or your art or, your exercise. Those are just right now lower on the priority totem pole.
Yeah.
We all have 24 hours in a day.
Exactly.
Could you watch less, one less hour of television?
And I don't watch much TV either. Well, except when I'm like basically laying on the couch, I'm about to go to bed or whatever. But like, I don't, I don't carve out time to watch TV. It just happens, right? It just happens to be on while I'm doing something else. So you might be doing something on a computer and working on something privately, but then the TV will just happen to be on.
Right.
So I don't know. I just
it's all priority.
It is priority, and I'm not like upset. I'm just trying to figure out. That's why I prompted the conversation.
It is daunting to look at. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have kids. Like it gets even worse.
Yeah. So it's like you have way less time to focus on any of that.
You do.
And so I always am always curious about that. Like, how do dads deal with that? And then, the people that
I think all parents struggle. Moms have a huge struggle with that.
You mentioned, yeah. I mean, and that's just interesting to me. I always feel like that. Is there a dad out there that, maybe has, trying to understand how to do that? Maybe they can take tips from you about instead of trying to do it all at once, take a weekend and go on an excursion or go take a month off and go to, Thailand or something, a little bit every day, little like half hour, wake up a half hour earlier and just sit there and meditate or do some exercise or, draw something or whatever it is that you feel like you're good at or you want to try on and do. Take a little bit of that time out or take the long road home and go by the beach if you have that ability. Just little things like that I feel like help. Because you don't get a lot of time to yourself as you have more children in this.
Well, I think, and that's what people warn you about when you're like, you say you're going to have a baby and they're like, oh, well, you're never going to sleep. You never have time to yourself. And the reality is that's true.
To some degree, yeah.
To some degree, it's true. But your priorities change, and it's like you don't realize it. Like if I look back when I was single, my priorities were different. And now having children and a wife, and it's like they shifted. They shifted. It's really it's really important for me that I spend time with my family. And my knowing that like. I get some concentrated time with my kids, which that's, I schedule it. Like I go on the camping trips or I go, for me, that helps because then it's like, this is just my own thing where during the week of like, I know we're going to go camping. I don't feel guilty, staying and recording or meeting a friend for something or for me, that works because then I've established, I'm like, nope, I'm going to be there this weekend. I'm going to spend all my time. I'm going to be concentrated. It's going to be good effort.
Sure.
So like for me, that works.
Yeah.
Because like I actually schedule the time.
Right. Right.
So I think it's just prioritization. And for me, that's a big priority is spending the time with the kids. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think take it on a daily basis. And here, this was the other thing that popped up when you were talking. You can't be perfect at everything all the time.
Right.
So, what happens is like, okay, today I was a really good dad. Guess what? I wasn't a very good husband or I wasn't a good employee or a business owner or whatever. But tomorrow is another day. Mm-hmm. I can be really good. So guess what? The next day, damning, I was really good husband. Mm-hmm. I did this and this for my wife. But guess what? I neglected my kids.
Yeah.
It's like every day you can start over.
Right.
And know that you can make it better or fix it or adjust. And I think you kind of just have another dimension when you have that. So when you have the wife and kids, it's like, the wife, kids, job, personal stuff, projects, all this stuff, friends.
Yeah.
you just kind of have to adjust all that and figure out, and I often do that. I go, oh, you know what? I haven't been a very good friend lately. Let me give my buddy a call.
Sure.
And blah, 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 whatever. Or, hey, I know my wife and I haven't done anything for a while. You know what? Let me plan something and we've got to go away or something. Like it just happens.
It's funny you mentioned about the being a good friend thing. I texted my buddy because he and I have been texting lately, just recently. And I go, hey, how's the wife and the little guy? He goes, yeah, well, she's due in like a few weeks. I'm like, wait, what? And I didn't know. He sent me an email about it in March, and I think that email wasn't read. Like it went to some weird folder or something. I didn't read it. I'm like, wait, you having another kid?
Oh, wow.
It's a good friend of mine, like a really good friend of mine. And he's like, you didn't know? And he goes, and then he's like, wait a minute. And he goes, I sent you an email about this, but it was like a response to one email I sent him, and I thought he didn't reply. Oh. And then I just never saw the email.
It's probably a Gmail.
So it was a Gmail. It was a Gmail.
I can't stand the stacking of that.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened. Totally. So anyway, long story short, it made me laugh because I was like checking up on him, and all of a sudden I'm like, do you have another? Jeez.
Right. No, it happens.
Yeah.
So it's just, the tip.
He's in Canada for,
the tips, maybe if we can consolidate it and give tips to dads, or such, I would say that, everybody is different. I think you have to look at your own life and figure out if the current balance is working for you and those around you, and if it's not working for those around you, are you okay with making adjustments?
Right.
And that's part of life. I mean, it's, I know there's certain instances, obviously, where my kids are going to need me more. Yep. Or there's other instances where my wife might need something, or, or I need some personal time, or, and it is a constant adjustment. And I find that, that's the case. And like I said, it's that self-acceptance of knowing you can't be perfect all the time. And I struggle with that because, I'm trying to be great in here and trying to be great there, and then trying to do my own stuff and it's a battle. And it's finally like it gets exhaustive.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if I may speak for you, you do a good job of balancing all those things, and you're with your kids a lot. And you're a perfectionist, so you always want to do things better. But from an outsider's perspective, and I hope your kids appreciate it and your wife appreciates it, that you spend a lot of time with them. You do the show almost by virtue of for them in a weird way, because it's like something that you've learned and you want to pass on to other dads too. So I think it's a healthy attitude, but not everyone has that luxury, and not everyone has the luxury to have that energy that you do. You have a different way of looking at the world. So I just was curious, is there ways that, I don't know, dads could, I like the idea that you have that little time in the morning, because I do think that has something to do with why you're so,
okay
gung-ho with everything about that, because you didn't think of it in that context. Yeah, you didn't think of it in that context. Like, I gotta spend time away from my family. It's like, no, it's not that. It's like, I just got to do this.
I just do it before they get up.
Before you get up. So it's like, charge me for the day. I do this little exercise and work out and get the day rolling that way. And so that's your way of doing it. You don't look at it in that perspective. Maybe I would, because, and again, it could also be how you grew up and what things are. But I do feel like that does help a little bit.
Sure.
And
makes sense.
And you do it a little bit every day. So therefore, it's not a big deal for you to
get away.
Because you don't need to necessarily. Right. You get away every morning. Yep. And then
I'm away at work too.
Work is a whole different thing, because that's where I also was gathering this from too, is that my day is packed with people wanting something from me.
Gotcha.
I'm constantly, I have multiple clients, and every client,
you can only give so much.
You can only give so much during the day, just at work. So just at work, then talk about your social life and your significant others and your pets and whatever else is going on, kids at that point, so that's kind of where I was coming from, because it's like, wow, it's so exhausting. Yeah. So maybe I should take a job doing something really solitary and then have a bunch of kids.
No,
that's not the answer.
That's not the answer.
Oh, damn.
But if anyone else has feedback or has some comments, Alan, what should they do?
Podcast at deucedads.com is where you can email us, or you can hit us up on social media, Twitter at deucedads, Facebook deucedads.com. Please go to iTunes and Stitcher if you have both, or if not, one or the other, and leave a review. review and subscribe to those. It really helps perpetuate the show. And please check out the YouTube channel. We have the audio up there, but also there's going to be some tidbits from Jason up there that is going to be separate from the podcast. Yeah, Dad's University. Some great stuff up there.
Awesome. Well, Alan, thank you again for bringing along this topic. It is interesting because it makes me think a little bit more, and I like that.
Cool.
About stuff.
I'll shove my opinions in there.
I love your opinion. That's why we're doing this on 130 episodes.
That's right.
It's crazy. So with that, Alan, thank you.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week.
See you next week.